All right. Let's get this out of the way first. The thoughts, views, and opinions expressed on Tailboard Talks Firefighter podcast are solely those of the speakers, guests, and host, and do not in any way represent the thoughts or views or opinions of any other employer, partnership, or sponsor. The material and information in this podcast is for general information purposes only and should be used at the listener's discretion.
So I'm sorry. No, we're not. Okay, sorry. Welcome back to Tailboard Talks Firefighter podcast. You are here with Chris and Angie. We're back at CrossFit 104. I'm about to do some recording on diet.
Had me scared. I thought you said we're about to do 21 point.
No, you didn't come in. You didn't show up for class, so.
I will not do that workout.
Your fault.
Not. Yeah.
You could have been.
That feels like a different episode, yeah.
You would have been absolutely fine. Anywho, we want to thank some sponsors first before we get into this. Buy me a coffee button if you guys want to support us. Like I said before, we love you supporting us and also buying us coffee. Mm-hmm. You can do the buy me a coffee button and go ahead and donate for us. Also, Rescue One CBD, something that you guys could use if you'd like to help with your recovery. You can use our, not logo.
A code.
Tailboard. I don't know why I was going to say logo.
I don't know.
Tailboard. Go ahead and it gives you, it's 15, right?
Yeah,
15% off.
15% off. Yep.
And then we also recently have gotten in touch with Frontline Optics, which is a pair of my favorite sunglasses. They went and sent us 2 different kinds, which we are loving. Mm-hmm. They're great. I can't wait. Can't wait to go to work with these. In the future, we will be doing an interview with the Frontline Optics creator. So we're super excited for that. So keep a watch out on that. And we do have Milfred here with us today. Yeah. Milfred, do you have any snorts?
Milfred is the size of a bag of coffee.
Yeah, so she's been ruining everything in my house. So unfortunately, I had to drag my little potato along. And she's just going to go do her own thing. So.
How much does Milfred weigh? Like 46 pounds?
She's close to 50.
Freak, yeah, dude.
Yeah, she's a tank.
Doesn't look a pound over 60.
No. Oh, she definitely breathes like it.
We should also say that Frontline Optics, the goal of that is eventually we want to get to a point where, just like Rescue One CBD, we have a code for that too.
Oh, absolutely,
so people can buy glasses through us and CBD through us, and then we get a little cut of it. That's the cool part of it, but they get good stuff. So we're trying to go after the good stuff, people.
Yeah, help us a little bit too with our podcast, getting newer stuff so that the stuff we record will be better for you guys.
Yeah.
So let's get started first. I don't know if people saw, but Chris recently went to Nebraska for Gravel Worlds. They did a winter race, I guess.
It's technically
but there's
a race.
Like 3 different ones, right? You can do like 3 different lengths.
Oh, yeah. In that one, there was 3 different lengths. And the forecast was so foreboding.
Why don't you tell everybody what this forecast was?
It was bad. Well, it was bad, and then it turned out to be real. So they had a 150K gravel race, a 100K, and then a 50K, which is like 30-something miles. And then the week before, it went from like a forecast of 40 degrees down to a forecast of like in the single digits. And then it came up a little bit and snowed. So it snowed like almost a foot out there. And then the winds kicked up. And so like 3 days before, they said, we're canceling the 150K because it's going to be too cold and too treacherous out there. And you can change your distances up to the minute you start the race. And we're also going to add a 15-mile option in because we don't think anybody's going to do the 100K. So it turned out that of like the however many people were signed up for it, last year there was like 20 or 30, I think, at least. Maybe even like 50 in the 100K that I did. This year there were 9 of us at the start line. And I was like, well, this feels like a mistake. And everybody else dropped down to like the 30-mile or the 15-mile just to do something, but they're like, this is just terrible. And it was just terrible. It was bad.
But you didn't have a good setup.
The
night before wasn't a good setup.
Everything that from 12 hours till the race, everything was just a nightmare. Before it was awesome. We got out there a day early. Katie's mom watched the kids. We hung out for a day. Didn't do anything. I got ripped by the waitress at breakfast. Did you read that?
No.
Put that up on the stories. So I told Katie, I'm like, I really don't feel like we have to like find something to do on this trip.
Was it for the Valentine's Day thing?
Yeah.
Actually, yeah, I did.
I was
read
like,
that.
sometimes with the kids, we're like, oh, I gotta find a museum or something to do. I'm like, we don't have to do anything. We can go to Sierra. They had a giant Sierra there. It was amazing. And breakfast, and then what if we just go back and like I'll tinker with the bike a little bit, and you can do whatever you want, and that's it for the day. Like we'll do nothing. And she was like, that sounds good. So the waitress came around, and I paid for our breakfast, and then she said, are you guys doing anything for Valentine's Day? Anything special? And both Katie and I were like, nope, this is it. We're just doing this, and then that's it for the day. And she like looked at Katie, and she was like, oh well, I've heard that from a couple other couples in here too. If that makes you feel any better, like. And we're like, oh, yeah. And she walked away. And I was like, wait a second. Like, that was it. Like, I already paid her. That was her last interaction with the table. And I was like, did she just call me, like, a deadbeat?
Yeah, she totally called you out.
Just right,
she called you out.
Trying to console Katie, but now look at me.
Yes.
And so Katie erupted in laughter and made her day. But I was like, no, we have 2 kids and we're on vacation and we're not doing anything.
Right.
No, just total dirtbag.
No coming back from that one.
And then, like, Katie rips into me throughout the day then too. I'll be like, I want to get coffee, but we still have coffee back at the hotel. She's like, oh, so that waitress was right, you little cheapskate. Like every opportunity to bring it up that I'm a dirtbag and
oh man,
not supportive of her or whatever. So went to the check-in, it was all good, got home, and it was just a weird trip, man. Like since Katie was out there, that the bike race took a back seat. Like it just wasn't like I wasn't thinking about it for 2 or 3 days prior. So I didn't put in the typical amount of like obsessive attention that I usually would give it.
Well, why don't you tell everybody how many miles you did end up going in this treacherous
40,
trail?
Just
40 miles.
40 out of 63. But I have more excuses if you want to hear them.
No, I don't, because I'm so tired of hearing your excuses.
But I have so many of them.
But like, if people saw the pictures, honestly though, seriously, if people saw the pictures of what you guys were in,
yeah. I mean, only 6
I wouldn't even walk
finished.
out my front door. So
yeah. Like of the 9 that started, only 6 finished that distance.
Okay, like what are you complaining about?
So frustrating.
I just love the gas station's like 10 miles. Yeah, I'll just make it over there. And then it wasn't.
So that was part of my preparation was like, usually I know the course pretty well. And I've done this race twice before. Like I've done it. I completed the winter one last year and I did the summer one in August. And now this was my 3rd time basically in this same area. And I was like, I just know that gas station's halfway. Like that's good for my brain to know that I'll be done halfway. So I officially gave up at like 20 miles in. Like my body cracked and I was all done night. So from 20 miles to 25 miles, I was just sulking and like frustrated. And then there was a small pit stop and the person's like, well, do you want to ride? I'm like, no, I'm just going to wind my way to the gas station. Like I'll just be sad and sulk all the way there. She's like, okay. I'm like, it's just another 5 or 6 miles up here. And she's like, I think so. So then I got to like 30 miles in my Garmin, which I had to borrow. That was one of the problems. I was borrowing someone's Garmin because mine exploded. It was like, turn left. And then it turned left and said, 4.5 miles to your next turn. And I was going into the wind. I was like, what is going on here? And so then the sweeper car came by at like 35 miles. And they're like, do you need a ride? And I was like, I just need to get to this stupid gas station. She's like, it's 1.5 miles up. You're almost there. And I'm averaging like 7 miles an hour into the wind on this ride. It was like 3.5 miles further. So I made it to 40 miles because I tricked myself and just
then that should show
trudged through.
You could push your body.
Yeah, but at that point, can I just wait for an hour and then push 20 more miles? Like, there's just never going to win.
Well,
but I feel ready now.
Your food intake, though, like you said, because this is how we're absolutely can go into this conversation, right? Mm-hmm. Is that your intake of your food was not aligned with the race you were about to do.
No.
At all.
I showed up to the winter race with the summer eating plan. And then I switched bikes right before it, which slowed me down even more. So typically what I would do is a snack, like a power bar or something substantial, every either 10 miles or 1 hour, whichever one comes first. So usually it averages out to like 40 minutes. And if it's like a really hard climbing segment, it'll stretch out a little bit. But like every 40 minutes, I'm finishing a bottle and then having a snack pretty much, like a baby.
Yeah.
I was going so slow that I was 2.5 hours in, but I hadn't gone like 15 miles yet. So I had like half of a handful of gummy bears in that point when I was supposed to be 2 snacks deep. And then I gave up, and I was like, I'm just going to starve myself for the next 15 miles.
And then you guys couldn't find dinner the night
so
before.
We didn't eat till like 11 o'clock.
So you didn't eat till 11 o'clock, yeah. So it was just like all this disaster.
It was brutal. But yeah, my nutrition was absolutely the nail in the coffin. Like I would eat something, feel better immediately, but then I'd be so frustrated, I'd be like, you don't deserve to eat anymore.
Oh my God. Just punish myself.
Yeah, I'm like, just make it a stupid gas station, then I'll eat tonight.
God, you are so weak.
Turns out the gas station was 20 miles away, not 5. So
yeah, I can only imagine.
So yeah, I was in a hole, and I couldn't dig up. And but definitely nutrition and drinking, hydration was like that was the nail in the coffin. Like my mentality was terrible, my legs were shot, but the food put me in the hole.
Yeah, for sure.
Could not get out
So
of.
nutrition, you say? Nutrition.
Yeah, weird.
That's weird. That's why we're here. Okay.
Before we do that though, do you want to do a 14-ish in a week?
Oh my goodness, yes. Okay, so March is coming up.
Yeah.
Chris puts on a 14-ish. It is not a 75 hard.
Nope. It's not even a 30 medium.
Right, it's not even a 30 medium. So basically, if you are somebody, whether you're a firefighter or you're not a firefighter, you're just someone who really is struggling, which I'm sure there are many people out there. This is a 14-day, so we're going to run it from March 1st through the 14th.
Math. Nailed it.
I did nail it. Basically, where you can choose, right? You can choose between different.
You just set your own rules. Yeah.
Okay, so why don't you explain it then, since I think you're going to be explaining this much better than I.
Basically, it's just, so it came up when we had a camping trip coming up, and we always drink more and eat more on camping trips. It's always kind of just fragmented living. And so we're like, hey, how about for like the 2 weeks leading up to it, we just start doing the things that we used to do that were pretty good and like pay attention for a little bit. And so it's not like adding anything big or making any big adjustments. It's actually falling back on like, oh, remember when we used to like get up and make smoothies every morning, and then we felt better, and then we'd work out by 11 in the morning, and that was good. And just reinstituting the things that you used to do that worked.
Like building blocks.
Yeah. Refocusing kind of on the things the 2 or 3 things that worked well. So for the first one, we just did no drinking, and then no snacking after 8 o'clock, and then one workout-ish or workout a day. Like, and that could be all the way down to like at the time pushing the stroller on the block or like going for a bike ride with Nathan.
Yeah, so nothing like super intense, nothing.
Just
something.
And then the other days were like actual workouts. So it just filled in the gaps there and just made it back to where we wanted to be instead of how we just kind of get distracted and let stuff spiral. So
I like the idea of people making the rules. Mm-hmm. Maybe if people don't have ideas, because I'm sure that's also going to be a thing, maybe we can just put up examples of, hey, you can do this, or hey, you can do this as a idea. So we'll definitely have that out prior to March 1st, so that you guys can get started on that. We are talking about possibly doing a little competition with it.
If nothing else, a participation trophy.
Yeah, but you'll get something for it.
Well, yeah, you'll participate.
Besides
the satisfaction of knowing that you're just an overall better person.
Right, and you're building good habits, and it's not something super extreme, just helping you to get to that point eventually.
Like back to your starting point almost. Like that was the point of it, was like longer than 2 weeks is a pain in the ass, because you're like, 2 weeks is right to break over, and you're like, do I really want to keep doing this, or am I just going to, like Quitter's Day?
Yeah,
like January
exactly.
17th or whatever, 14th.
Absolutely.
You're like,
Who
do I really want to
going
keep doing this, or do I
stopped?
want to stop this? 75 with all the rules is way too much.
It was a lot to change at once, too.
Yeah.
Like, that's a lot to change at once.
Yeah.
Oop. Go get it, Fred.
Get it, Angus. So yeah, 14 is starting March 1st. And like Angie said, we're going to have a bunch of information coming on that. But you'll definitely get like a sticker, or if he wants to do hats or like Yeti tumblers for everybody that tries it for one day.
Yeah, I think it would be cool. Not for one day.
Monster.
You have to finish the whole 14 days at least.
Ish. All right, let's get into the nutrition talk.
All right, sorry.
Let's play a word association game.
Oh, okay.
Ready?
I wasn't ready before, and now I'm still not ready, so let's do it.
There's no way you can ever be ready for it, because they're different words. But you just say the first word that comes to mind. I have like 8 terms here. They're not all diets, they're terms too.
Oh, they're just terms?
Well, some are, anyways. Ready?
I guess.
Keto.
Fat.
Nice. Whole30.
Healthy.
What? I mean, it's good. You're playing the game correctly. Vegan. Too slow.
I know.
Paleo.
Saturated fat.
Okay. Vegan.
Vegetables.
Good one. Intermittent fasting.
Too long for me.
Too long. And here's a term. Clean.
Unreal.
Ooh. Here's the last term. Elimination diet.
Fancy.
Fancy?
Yeah.
Okay. Go. What's so fancy about an elimination diet?
It's fancy.
Because that fits
I'm
perfectly
sorry.
into my point with that.
Elimination diets. Okay. All diets are an elimination diet.
There you go.
Which is what makes diets fancy.
Okay.
Did I play the game right?
Well, you just said word as fast as you can, so you can't lose.
Well, I don't know why I just couldn't think anything with vegetarian, but
Vegan.
Vegan, I'm sorry, because there's all different types of vegans.
I think because
I can't remember all of them, but there's a lot.
Well, vegan's a tough one because vegan doesn't necessarily associate with healthy.
No, but under a lot of studies, vegan has found to be one that is actually incredibly healthy. So, I just want to, before we go into this, before we even go into this discussion, I want everyone to know I am not a dietitian.
Okay.
I cannot tell you what is right and what is wrong and what you should be on. Mm-hmm. I have a nutrition cert, and I keep up with research.
Like a precision nutrition?
Yeah, but I keep up with research. Mm-hmm. However, I cannot tell you what is right, what is wrong. I have many friends who are very introverted as I am and also don't like leaving their house. Therefore, I have lots of time to read.
That got into a personality trait awful quick.
So
okay, and my disclaimer is
that's my disclaimer.
I don't like nutrition because it's boiled down in my brain to a pretty fundamental rule set, and it's just boring to me now because I kind of see through the window dressing of the diet stuff as to like what the root purpose and the mechanism is, and it's just like, well, it's just the same. So all the fights about this diet over this diet or like this method over this method, it's fun. But at the end of the day, it's like, well, when you ask like 3 or 4 whys, they all come back to the same thing. They all come back to the same thing. And I also hate it because I don't want to pay attention to it. I think I have a personal slight against it because I didn't need to care about it for so long because of like sports and
young
lifestyle.
And was like super active and it didn't matter what you ate.
Katie cooks all the stuff pretty much at home and it's all good. And I worked with a lot of good guys who would cook at work and it was all good. So it was never like a major factor, luckily, right? So having to think about it now is frustrating, annoying, and I just don't want to do it. So I just choose to ignore it and then complain about my belly.
So probably not the person who should ignore it.
Okay. Again, a little judgy, but I'll go for it.
It was a little judgy.
Now, you said, so elimination diets, right?
Yeah. Yep.
All of these things are elimination diets.
Yeah, every diet is an elimination diet.
Yeah. Is there one elimination diet? Wait, let's just define an elimination diet first. Do you have a definition off the top of your head?
Not off the top of my head, but like if someone would be like, well, what's an elimination diet? Well,
I'll tell you.
Okay, Chris will tell you.
It's basically, I'm not even going to look it up. I will. Go ahead, tell your story while I look it up.
I'm just saying, any diet that restricts anything is an elimination diet, right? So that is, in my opinion, an elimination diet. There's also like FODMAP stuff with IBS, you know, like people have like IBS or there's like having all these stomach issues. And so they have them go on these like low FODMAP diets where they eliminate all this stuff. You're only allowed to have X, Y, and Z. And then slowly over time, you start incorporating these foods again and then seeing, okay, this bothers me or this doesn't bother me or this does. And now we can add this back in and et cetera. Yeah.
So that's the more clinical definition of it. Like Whole30 is a prototypical elimination diet. Take out everything and then you see how you feel and you add back in very measured things one at a time and see if you have a reaction to those things. And if you do, then you get rid of those things.
Right.
And you find alternatives and blah, blah, blah.
It's a smarter way, in my opinion, to go about.
It's great, but people ruin the Whole30 diet in general because they turn the Whole30 diet, which is supposed to be discovering how you're supposed to eat for your lifestyle, and they turn it into like, hey, I'm going to Mexico in 2 months. I'm going to knock out a couple Whole30s real quick because I know if I fall back on all their prepared food and all their stuff, I'll drop like 10, 15 pounds. And then when I get back, I'm just going to go back to what I was doing.
So that's so terrible. I feel like that's just so terrible for your body and your gut in general if you're going to yo-yo things like that. And like
it is.
It's just
but it's reliable too.
Ugh.
But that's the whole point of the Whole30, from my understanding, is like it's an elimination diet and the fact that it's more of a diagnostic tool than anything. Now, elimination diet in the personal training world is basically cutting out entire food groups or calorie sources or types of food or something in the pursuit of lowering your overall number of calories taken in. So every diet is an elimination diet, whether you look at keto or paleo or vegan.
Sorry, I did not just see what happened.
Nothing happened.
Oh, okay.
I think something...
Oh, she just gets scared at the door creaking.
The door creaked and all of a sudden it was life or death.
Come here.
So every diet is an elimination diet because here's the thing is they're going to be like, if you can't eat carbs anymore, right? You're taking out a massive source of calories out of someone's diet. And to eat as much protein as it takes to get full, you're not going to have the overall number of calories just because of the nutrient density of like proteins versus carbohydrates. Right?
Yeah.
Same thing with any of these things. If you eat vegan, now you can't eat hamburgers. Well, you're probably not eating mayo and whatever else is coming on your burger.
Depending on what you're...
And you're not eating the bun that doesn't come...
Because I know there are some that like still...
There's all different kinds.
Yeah, like they'll eat eggs still.
But it's all in the pursuit of lowering the total number of calories taken in. Mm-hmm. And if you go back to the old textbook stuff, which is constantly disputed one way or the other, it's just like the bank account balance deal, where if you take in less calories than you burn, then you lose weight. And if you eat more calories than you burn, then you're in a maintenance, or you're building muscle, hopefully, or you're storing it as fat.
Yeah, I think the vegan thing is a little different because I think a lot of people who do end up going on a vegan diet isn't just solely for the calorie deficit or whatever the case may be. I think it's also, it's like those PETA people, like people who like don't like any kind of like inhumane ways of like, you know, euthanizing animals and stuff for food. I think that goes a little bit deeper where it's not just like about that type of diet, or more so like how our food is processed.
And you're so like on that, using that logic, then the people who do carnivore hate animals.
No.
Okay.
I don't say, no, I'm not saying they hate, no, I'm definitely not saying that.
No, I agree. There's definitely
I'm not saying that at all. However, my argument with the carnivore diet is a more extreme keto diet. Mm-hmm. That's all the carnivore diet is.
Yeah.
Carnivore, a lot of the studies, and this is like something, I have a lot of friends that do the carnivore diet. I do not like carnivore diet. I don't like it in the sense of there has been years and years and years and years and years and years of studies about what red meat does to us, to our like cardiovascular disease risk, hardening arteries, the saturated fat. Like this is not something that has not been known scientifically for a really, 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 really long time.
Yeah.
All these studies, people are going, oh, well, I feel better on it, and I have all this energy, and I'm like, okay, but do you understand physiology and why you feel this way? Because I can guarantee you it's not just because of, it's what this does to you. It's not necessarily like healthy for you, because are you getting blood work drawn regularly? These people have like these super high LDLs. All the like studies that I've read on it, they're all self-reported.
Yeah.
They're self-reported studies.
More like a survey.
It's literally online surveys.
Yeah.
So they're not, the accuracy of them is wrong, because the limitations of the studies is that they're online surveys. People can't recall what they ate every day of the week. So they're not saying, you know, whatever, truthfulness probably in everything that they're eating. So there's really no scientific study right now that holds true that it's the best thing for you. And then speaking of, since we're going to go ahead and talk about it being really a more extreme version of that keto diet. So keto was developed in 1920 for children with epilepsy. And that is what they've developed for them, people with glycogen storage disease, diabetes, obesity, and now they're finding like new studies that it's really good for people with Parkinson's. So the other things that they're seeing with this is that it increases their LDL levels, and it's strict and it's really difficult to maintain. People go, oh, you know, I'm only running on 4 hours of sleep because I'm so, like, it's gotten me so alert, it makes me think clearer, all this stuff. But what's really happening is that they're getting increased catecholamines because of the ketones, are using them as like this kind of like this fuel or whatever that is a steady energy source to the brain. It's reducing serotonin and melatonin. So once your melatonin is being reduced, you're not going to be sleepy. You are going to feel more alert, which is pretty not great, right? Because we need melatonin in order to get good sleep. The blood sugar stability is pretty good on it, I will say that. Electrolyte imbalances, that ends up happening, unfortunately, because of potassium. And then there's this glutamate and GABA imbalance. So basically what happens is you get more glutamate, so this more excitatory neurotransmitter that's going on. And then it's lowering the GABA, which is your calming. Like your calming, if anyone has seen like vitamins you give or you take with GABA in it, that's to increase calming stuff. You see that mixed with L-theanate or lemon balm and things like that. And so now you're having less of that which is what's making you on this super high alert, which is what everyone else is thinking, oh my God, I have all this energy. I'm running on 4 hours of sleep and I don't need this and I can keep going and all this stuff. And it's like, no.
Can for a little bit.
You can for a little bit, but
Yeah.
long term, you're not doing very well for your body.
Well, that comes to the crash side of these things, right? Like with any restrictive diet or elimination diet, there's going to be like the other side of it, where if you do intermittent fasting and you're only eating in your 4 or 6 hour feeding window and you're on shift, and then you miss that window because you're running calls or something happens, but there's still food in the fridge and on the counter probably at 2 o'clock in the morning when you're still up. I mean, you're just going to go eat then instead of later, and that screws up the next day's feeding window. So now you're not. It's just not sustainable because you can't adhere to the strict regimen of the diet.
Yeah. So the intermittent fasting is something we definitely touched on about before we recorded this, and I think you asked what my question was, like if I thought it would be good for people or whatever, and I said I think it's good for men, not really women. You're like, what about firefighters? And I said no, strictly because you don't know, when you're going to get a fire, like when you need to use all your energy and stuff like that. However, I have changed my mind a little bit on it, because there are different like intermittent fasting intervals that you can do. So I would not suggest intermittent fasting when you're on shift.
Yeah.
There's like a 5 to 2.
But here's the thing. At that point, it's just a fancy word for skipping breakfast.
Well, yeah, you're right. It's doing is putting you in a caloric deficit, really. It's just what it's doing.
Yeah.
But I would much rather see people just eat at like a maintenance. Honestly, I think that you should just eat at a maintenance level. Figure out what your maintenance level is.
Yeah.
And then either increase your activity and keep yourself at a maintenance level, or if you want to be in a deficit, which I don't think is necessarily wrong, as long as you're not doing a massive deficit, keeping it around 200 calories maybe, doing like a 10%. I think that that's feasible, where you can still perform, because you can, it's hard, right, in our jobs. You can't be like, oh, we got a fire, I got to shove my face with all these carbs before we go, even though I've totally done that.
Well, that's so the textbook
down an applesauce packet.
Yeah, well, just because you're baby sized, so it's baby food.
Yeah, well, whatever.
The textbook numbers were 1,000 calories a week of deficit, and it's disputed too. But they said that if you averaged a deficit of 1,000 calories, a couple hundred a day, 200 a day, one cookie packet less a day, basically.
It's like nothing then.
Yeah. Gives you 1,000 a week, and then 1,000 in a week equates to 1.5 pounds, 1 to 1.5 pounds of weight loss per week.
Which is okay.
Which gives you 3 to 4 to maybe 5 per month, which is a nice gradual
ideal.
loss.
Yeah, that's
right?
it's a good idea.
That's by the numbers, and that's doesn't take into account lots of other things, an infinite number of things, but that's what the general was. But I think what's important with all these diets is that you pay attention and try to see what the diet's trying to accomplish, and try to understand that it's not what you're eating now on the diet, it's what you're not eating because of the diet. And I think that's a huge part of understanding of yes, I'm eating 5 steaks a day, and I think that's what's helping me feel energetic and full. But in reality, I'm also not eating 6 bowls of cereal and 2 or 3 donuts and all the other stuff. So I think at that point, if you're making a significant change, you're going on one of these diets that's sold or prescribed or given by someone, it becomes more of what you're not eating compared to what you are eating on the diet. So that's a tough thing to suss out when you're feeling good about it. You don't want to look the gift horse in the mouth, but at the same time, you're not going to be on that diet forever. So when you stop, you need to know what you should be cognizant of.
Yeah, and honestly, I think people should really just do a lot more research into if they are wanting to adopting what kind of one of these types of diets. And the thing is hey, what is your goal with it? Is it a short-term thing? Is it a long-term thing? And also, I just feel that people would have a better chance, and I understand everyone is very instant gratification nowadays.
Well, people are never going to do research. We are the research.
Oh, well, I guess.
Let's talk about something real quick. GLP-1s for firefighters.
Okay.
What do you think?
I think that it's okay if they are, let's say, if they're at a pretty heavy weight and they're struggling. I don't have any issues with them doing that as long as they are adopting a lifestyle change with it and then continue to do that lifestyle change when they come off of it.
Yeah.
That is, I don't have problems with those. I'm so sick of people, oh, that's the lazy way to do this. Da, da, da. Well, it's not like that across the board. Everybody is very different.
I would feel less like that specifically with firefighters. Because, like, if you're just a person with a regular job and you're overweight, I really don't care if you lose weight or not. But I have several peers that, like, have legitimately tried and failed multiple times with earnest effort and with good oversight and with every intention of succeeding, and it's just not in the cards for them.
No.
And some people admit, like, I have a food problem, like I literally just cannot stop eating, and others are like, I just can't make it click, like I don't know what's going on.
Yeah. Why not
some
have
with medication
support?
issues, some of it's all kinds of stuff, right?
Yeah.
And we all know the person that maybe we talked about a couple episodes ago came on as like a pretty in shape person, and now they bolted on like a 40-pound belly out of nowhere because of several factors throughout the 30 years they've been there. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I would be more in favor of firefighters going with GLP-1s in order to get their weight under control and get that lifestyle
Well, right,
back.
especially if they're past a certain, it's one thing to be a couple pounds overweight.
That's not
and
what
to
it's
be,
for, yeah.
And then it's another thing when you're pushing like morbid obesity or like it's like your everyday is a problem.
Yeah.
Like there's a very big difference. So no, I think that it's great. I'm full support of those for people who are going to have like a good lifestyle with it or a lifestyle change with it, and it's going to help them get that like push start, because then they start maybe seeing, their appetite go down and they start seeing the body changes. It can make them a little bit more motivated to start working out and to do those things, because sometimes those people are so big that like working out is painful for them. It is not.
Yeah.
It's very hard. So I'm for it. I'm for it as long as they're able to carry out that lifestyle when they come off of it. I'm absolutely for it.
I dig it. I think it's just a scrutinized area, And there's a couple doctors on like social media that are for them and doing a good job vouching for GLP-1s when they should be used and all that. But there's always going to be a thing of like, the easy way out or taking a cop out, something like that,
Yeah.
But the job needs to be done. Like, the job needs to be done. You need to be able to function. And if it takes you taking a medication, this is one of the points that the Dr. Nadolsky guy
That's who
throws
I
out there.
love. He's like my
He's like,
favorite.
you wouldn't shame someone for taking like a blood pressure medication and tell them like you're taking the easy way out by taking blood pressure medication. So why would you shame someone for taking another medication that helps them function?
There is so much social media misinformation going on. People who think that they can say things confident enough and loudly enough that people will believe them, and unfortunately it's true.
Well, you're striking a little close to home with that, so let's be careful where we tread.
I'm just saying.
Okay.
Well, I'm just saying, because there are hereditary factors, unfortunately, and there are certain things. And while I am also for some functional medicine stuff, I only say some because I see them pushing $5,000 worth of supplements that no one needs to be on.
Yeah.
As like this, you know what I'm saying?
Well,
like,
not everybody can have the answer.
it's like, here, take all this. And then everyone's like, well, I don't feel better. And like, then why are you spending $5,000 on all these supplements that you probably don't need, you can get from your food?
That's what I was about. We were watching the Scamanda thing.
Scamanda. I don't think I know what that is.
We'll close with this. It's a documentary series. It's a podcast. We listened to it all the way back from Nebraska. And it's also like a 4-part series on Hulu, I think.
Okay.
It's actually, we're getting on Hulu tonight. It came out last night. We're getting it a day later because we don't pay for that. Terrible story. She's a terrible person.
Is she the one who like faked
couple times
thing?
cancer?
And then said that she, whatever with food, became like.
No,
this is not that one.
No, a different one. But that's also there was an episode about multi-level marketing's in there.
Okay.
That was an offshoot of it. This other person who does like exposing scammer things was going into multi-level marketing and basically saying like, how is it that every single one of these multi-level marketings is a different product, but they've all cured cancer, and they've all done this amazing thing, and they've all saved these people, each with individual mechanisms. Somebody's got to be lying or exaggerating. Like, they can't all have the magic bullet, right?
Yeah.
So this Scamanda chick, that was part of it. Is that she basically bilked people saying that she had cancer. She went from town to town would establish herself in the church, would get going in the community, and then say I have cancer, do a bunch of fundraisers. Somebody would kind of catch on to her, so she'd just up and leave, and then they'd see her on social media, like in a new town.
Sounds like a real peach.
A year later, she'd be like, "Oh, I just got diagnosed with cancer for the first time." Crazy stuff. So she got caught by the IRS eventually.
Good.
Really cool story. Check it out. That's not. I got my wires crossed from that. That's a totally different story, and the influencer scandal person was talking about MLMs.
No, that's totally fine.
Because there was a protein shake supplement company that was promoting curing cancer.
Of course.
With their protein shakes.
Of course.
Anyways.
All right, we're going to end this though. I would like to just say, if you truly want to see what works best for you, just make sure you do a food journal. I think food journaling is the best thing you can do. If you're not somebody who wants to go on to some like super restrictive diet, go ahead and keep journaling the things that you're eating and see if you can see trends of things that you bother you, that you feel like you need to eliminate, things that you need to add. I know everyone's all about the macronutrients. Please don't forget about the micronutrients, because I feel like those hold a lot of value that people are underestimating. And that's kind of all I have to say about that.
Good.
What do you want to end with?
Your dog is ridiculous.
What? She's so cute.
What is she doing?
She's sleeping on my foot.
She parked
Hey.
herself. All right. Slogan time.
Oh.
Katie said cut out the last. She didn't remember what the last thing was, but she said that 2 of the 3 were good enough. Hot something, cool something.
Great. Now I
Stay
can't even
sharp
remember.
Hot coffee.
It was like hot topics.
Hot topics.
Hot coffee.
That,
Stay sharp.
Jesus.
I don't remember.
Thanks for listening.
Be like Milfred.
Bow, bow,